Well, good evening and thanks for joining us as we are getting you ready for hurricane season, which is now just 4 days away. But don't stress, tonight we'll share some resources to help you get ready. We'll start with Chief Meteorologist Dr. Jim Siebert with an outlook of what we may see this year.
Here's the forecast from NOAA for the 2021 hurricane season. They're calling for 13 to 20 named storms, 6 to 10 hurricanes, and 3 to 5 major hurricanes. What does that mean? Well, it means that there's a 60% chance that we'll have a slightly above average hurricane season, and that's not a big surprise. Now, they are basing this on a couple of very important things. First, that we're not really expecting an El Nino or a La Nina, meaning we're going to see just sort of an average year as far as what's going on in the Pacific Ocean, meaning the kinds of winds that we'll expect over the Atlantic. The other thing is that the water temperatures are just a little bit above average. So less upper level winds, warm temperatures, and that's why we could see an active hurricane season. Now, in June and May, where do we really focus for the possibility of development of storms? The Gulf of Mexico, as we have seen lately, and we always watch this because the Gulf warms up quickly and it doesn't take long for those storms to form, but hopefully it'll be a quiet year, even though we'll probably see an active one.
Yeah, and that's what we hope for every single year. Now, the World Meteorological Organization, they release a list of new names for each hurricane season, but for 2021, there are some changes. Meteorologist John Dawson explains what's the difference this time around.
One thing that's going to be different this year, now I certainly don't want to start running out of names. I certainly don't want to run out of names from our list, but I do realize that some changes were made in the off season and the Greek alphabet is out. So talk about that a little bit.
I'll tell you, 2020 and 2005 are the 2 years that we had to use the Greek alphabet. And going through that in 2020, there were some issues associated with using those names. Eta, Theta, you have all these ones that they're so close. When we got to Zeta, I was flooded with phone calls. People thought that was the end of the Greek alphabet, which it is not. So if you think about trying to translate that into different languages, at the Hurricane Center, we're part of a World Meteorological Organization. And if you think about it, 28 countries, we come together and we vote on these changes. So that means Spanish, Portuguese, French, and English. Some of those names were tough to translate. They really were. So it distracted from the message. We need to talk about the impacts and not really worry about what these names are. So we're not going to use it anymore. We voted. I'm the chair of the committee. We brought it to the committee and everyone agreed. And now it's going to be a regular name list. It's going to be the same list that carries through the 6 years that we rotate the regular names. The overflow list will stay the same. It's going to be better. And once we run out of names, we're going to go back to A, but it's going to be something recognizable.
So this year you may have heard people saying the Atlantic hurricane season is starting early this year. So is that the case? No, it's not. But there was a proposal to start what are called tropical weather outlooks, and that was adopted to begin back on May 15th, 2021. Those are routine. The current Atlantic hurricane season, at least this year, runs from June 1st through November 30th. But what is happening this year is that a team of scientists, they're getting together and they're going to be gathering data to see if adding dates to the Atlantic hurricane season is necessary. They could add those dates toward the end of the season, or more than likely it would be at the beginning of the season. One of the reasons, look at these named cyclones before June 1st. This year, it's the 7th consecutive year of preseason development in the Atlantic basin. Of course, back in 2020, we had Tropical Storm Arthur and Bertha. You may remember back in May of 2018, Tropical Storm Alberto, which actually was the costliest preseason cyclone to develop and move into the Gulf of Mexico. We've had Tropical Storm Ana back in May of 2015. And then this year, because names are recycled every 6 years, we had Subtropical Storm Ana as well, which formed close to Bermuda. So we've had hurricanes, even tropical storms, develop before the official start. So that's being considered. And then also during the past 9 hurricane seasons, 7 tropical systems have formed between May 15th and June 1st. So of course that's leading up to the official start to the Atlantic hurricane season. These systems, they form close to land, and since 2012, They've caused at least 20 deaths and more than $200 million in damages. So that's why it's being considered, maybe to get the word out and that messaging out early, considering to start the Atlantic hurricane season a little early might be a good idea. Well, it is time for a break, but we know all too well how important it is to have supplies ready before a storm hits. But one item is much harder to get this year. We'll explain next.
I'm ready. Last freeze, I bought a generator to power my whole house. So this time I'm prepared.
Oftentimes you may hear meteorologists say, well, according to the average, we're above average or below average. Well, when it comes to the hurricane season, we also talk about averages. They're derived actually from a 30-year climate record. And this year, that record has been updated. Prior to this year, these were our seasonal averages. 12 named storms, 6 would become hurricanes. That would be considered a typical year. 3 of them would be major hurricanes. Well, now that we've entered essentially a new decade, we have updated numbers. 14 named storms now, 7 of those hurricanes, 3 major hurricanes. So how do they compare? Well, you can see slightly higher as we head into this new season. So the question is, why the increase? Well, consider this: overall improvements in observations, whether that be satellites, even hurricane reconnaissance. You can also consider a warming ocean and atmosphere due to climate change. But then also there's that possibility that we're just in a period right now where an uptick in tropical cyclone activity is being observed in the Atlantic basin.
We are in the warehouse for Graston Power Technologies, and all of these are backup home generators. And while you might be thinking you want to get your hands on one before a hurricane, all of these are already sold because installers say they're having trouble keeping them in stock.
Graston Power, this is Madison.
Phones haven't stopped ringing at Graston Power Technologies.
After the big freeze, generator demand has been through the roof. We've had about 10,000 inquiries since February.
There's such a backlog to manufacture and install home generators. If you ordered one today, you'll be lucky to have it installed before hurricane season ends.
We're about a 6-month lead time right now from the time you say go to the time we actually put in your generator. The manufacturers being behind is part of that problem. They've seen 300% and 400% increase in business this year alone.
While you can spend a few $1,000s to power a few appliances,
It's 2 cylinders.
most people opt to install whole home generators. The unit and installation start around $10,000.
At that point, you know, the installation cost of the product and everything else that's there, it really makes a lot of sense to really buy the size generator that's going to cover the entire house.
Installation involves pouring a concrete slab where it'll sit, hooking it up to your electric meter, installing a transfer switch, and running a line to a gas line to power it.
And they should expect that it's a home improvement project. So, you know, in most places around the country, there's permits involved, there's inspectors involved, you have contractors. So our dealers can help people walk through that entire process.
And generators need annual maintenance, usually $250 to $500 a year. Installing a generator is a big commitment, but it comes with big peace of mind.
The investment to protect your family is priceless.
As the demand for backup home generators continues to grow, more builders are starting to include them when they're constructing homes. With Sullivan SmartSense, I'm Heather Sullivan, Fox 26 News.
Still to come, your hurricane kit. It requires a lot of supplies, but that preparation pays off. What you'll need in order to make sure your family's really ready. Straight ahead.
Am I worried? No, but you never know what could happen here.
All right, meteorologist John Dawson, ready to talk about hurricanes. I'm so excited to be able to visit with the National Hurricane Center Director, Ken Graham. Thanks so much for taking some time today to visit with us here in Houston.
No, anytime. I'm glad we're getting ready. We're talking about this, so thanks for doing this interview.
Well, we can't start talking about this year without talking a little bit about last year.
I think we're still recovering from 2020. You know, the communities that got hit and everybody involved with it. And think about this: 30 named storms. the most we've ever recorded in 170 years of record keeping. Just absolutely just incredible. 11 landfalls. Just what a busy season all around. And I think if you look at that during a pandemic, everything we did was just more challenging. The steps that we had to take at the Hurricane Center to keep everybody safe. We were doing shift changes from the parking lot on telephones, and we had tape around hurricane specialists. Nobody was allowed to step in that zone. So we did everything we could here to keep safe so we can keep the public safe. What an incredibly busy season.
Here in Houston, we have what my understanding is the largest public event for hurricane preparedness that we do every year. Of course, we had to cancel it last year. They're going to do a modified version of it this year. I just got the email on that yesterday. So tell me how the pandemic affects just preparedness in general.
We had to adapt. I mean, we did hurricanes at home where we got into the classrooms in English and Spanish across the country and beyond. We reached thousands of school kids all across these areas. So we're doing all the training. We've already trained several thousand emergency managers this year, all virtual. And the event that you're talking about in Houston, later today, I'm doing the recorded intro to that event.
Awesome.
So we're doing the best we can with these. We're adapting. We're still going to have people ready.
And that event that they're talking about, it's the Extreme Weather Ready Expo. It's a bit different this year, but we're so glad it will be happening, especially considering all the circumstances we faced last year. Virtual programs start next year, and a drive-through is set for June 5th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. So for more information, you can head over to our website, fox26houston.com.
After Hurricane Harvey, I realized I needed to reassess how we had our preparedness kits, or what I like to also call a 72-hour kit. First of all, everybody had different stuff in their bags, and so I got everyone the exact same bag. So we all have the same bag, and notice this is bigger than a book bag. It's actually like a small backpack, and I wish now I'd even gotten a bigger one than the ones that I had. The second thing is I made sure that everybody has the same thing in their bags, so we know what everybody has. So let's go through some of this. Everything that I have in my bags are separated into smaller plastic bags. For one, it helps me keep everything organized. And two, in case we get and it's water that we're going through, like a flood, it's gonna help keep my snacks. Now, I have 2 bags of really good snacks for everybody, because think about it, when you're having a very tough day, a little comfort food is gonna go a long way. And if for some reason we're stuck for a couple of days, we've got good tasting snacks. And I mean the kind of stuff that you really want to eat, not like a bar that will just keep you alive, but stuff that's going to make you happy. Now, when you go camping, how much stuff do you take just to camp overnight? You fill your car up, right? Well, consider that we're camping for 72 hours or for 3 days. So I have food for 3 days for everybody. Everyone in my family has at least nine meals that are freeze-dried or these smaller packed MREs. Now, the freeze-dried food is actually really good. The MREs, not so much, but again, if you're really hungry, that would help. Which then takes us to how do we get to the food part. The water is also important because, one, we can't carry that much, right? It's just really heavy. So we have multiple ways of purifying our water and a small bag that I can put the water in. And all I need is 1 cup of water and we can cook, because every one of my bags has a small stove and multiple ways to these little fuel cells to cook. All we're trying to do is warm the water so that it's warm enough to then do our freeze-dried meal, which of course then everybody has a small compact mess kit. These are all small. This is travel size. I'm trying to keep things really light so I can put everything into my bag and it all fits. Now, another thing that's important, for one thing, when you're after a flood or whatever, okay, hand sanitizer, deodorant, let's face it, we all stink, right? Hand wipes, but these are not just hand wipes for your hands. If you get into a porta potty, guess what? You now have wipes with you. I also have Excedrin, ibuprofen, PM Tylenol and PM Advil, just because if you're going somewhere like a shelter, trust me, any way you can sleep is going to help you a lot. I also have a couple of utility bags with some rope, my utensils, a can opener, several face masks, that's also really important now, a cup that can expand and is really flat and light, and then also kind of a utility thing in case we're under trouble. So I do have a wrench, hand warmers, an emergency blanket, candles, a knife. Now you notice I still have everything in their packaging. The packaging is opened. Let me show you this example here, like for example, these lights, okay? And I do that so I keep everything in handy. So the lights, all I do is take them out. I already have batteries in the lights, but it's just nice and handy to have it in its little bag like this. And I do the same thing with a lighter. Now a couple things I keep that are not in bags. My gloves, which are handy. My flashlights, one obviously LED. This one I can charge if I have to this way, which I don't really want to, but if I had to, I would be happy just to have that light. I also have a small first aid kit. And then each one of my bags has one of these, a multiple tool. So it's a radio that can charge through solar. It can charge through cranking it like everything else. And it also has a battery so I can charge it before I actually leave. What's beautiful about this is I can charge my phone using it. So I could just set up my solar thing and let it charge my phone automatically. If I had to, I could also just crank it, and it is a radio. It also has a weather radio, so I can get all the information that I need. Another thing, duct tape. I always have a roll of duct tape in my bag. Make sure that it's not cheap duct tape. It's really good duct tape because you can use it for emergency purposes. You can build a tent, you can wrap a wound if you had to, all kinds of things you can do with duct tape. And last but not least, they say you need to take your documents with you. Well, I have way too many documents. So I have this, it's a external hard drive, and it's waterproof, shockproof. I could punt it, I could throw it, and it has every single picture that we've ever taken in our family, ever, on it, including all of our documents, our taxes, all of our information's on here. It also has a passcode, so if somebody were to get this, they can't open it. Only I can open it, or anyone in our family who has our passcode. That's how I carry all my information. So I actually have this list. It's on our hurricane gears, in our hurricane gearbox toolbox, so you can see everything here that I have, so you can have. But look at this and use this as ideas for what you can do to keep your family safe and prepared for any type of emergency that may come.
If you're new to Houston, this is an important map to know. Hopefully it won't be used, but this is your evacuation map, divided into zones. The purple zone's that coastal zone. Say a hurricane's approaching, this will likely be the first zone that needs to evacuate. The yellow zone is zone A, zone B in the green, and zone C in that orange reddish color. You can see divided up by area zip codes. The roads in red will be your evacuation routes. Of course, we want to let those coastal residents go first because the impacts of any tropical system are felt the most along the coast. You can find this map on our website, fox26houston.com. Hopefully it won't have to be used, but it's certainly important to know. Well, there are new products out this hurricane season, but it can be difficult to pick the right one. So to help us sort it all out, JD's Hurricane Gear Test is coming up next.
Well, you have to worry every year, but you just have to live with it if you're going to live close to the water. That's just the way it is.
The work from home edition of the Hurricane Gear Test is out. We are back in the studio and reviewing products and then giving them a rating on my Hurricane Kit priority scale. We'll cover some of the classic items like food and water, but also some of the newer products on the market and, of course, the latest in technology. But this year, I want to start by showing you some pre-built kits because I know there are some people out there who are overwhelmed with the idea of building their own emergency kits. But you don't have to. Some companies have gone out and done the work of compiling a basic kit, and then you can add to it, build something that is customized and perfect for your situation. Now, ready-made kits come in all shapes and sizes. Some are more portable than others, some made for one person, others for an entire family, and yes, cost is certainly a factor. These 5 on the table range in a price from $100 to $350. But let me tell you my 5 must-have items to start a hurricane kit. You're going to need food and water, a good light source like a flashlight or a lantern, a way to charge your cell phone, and a first aid kit. In the coming months, I'll give you detailed reviews of each of these kits, plus many more items you may want to consider adding to your hurricane plans. Now, last year, I reviewed over 25 products, and you can find all of those, plus this season, on my YouTube channel. So look me up there and all the other social media, including TikTok this year. I'm at John Dawson, Fox 26.
All right, well, thank you for joining us tonight. We hope you're now better prepared for what we may see this hurricane season. For complete information this hurricane season, go to our tropics page on fox26houston.com. There you will find tracking maps, radar, preparedness lists, and county-by-county emergency information. For up-to-the-minute weather information, whether that's tracking the tropics or the hour-by-hour forecast, download our Fox 26 weather app.